So I just took my starter out of the fridge and I'm going to take half of this and put it into here. And then I'm going to put half a cup of flour with a quarter cup of water and mix it up. And normally you just use a whisk and you'll see that the consistency of this is going to be like if you had like maybe like a thick pancake batter. So you can see I have two starters now. I'm gonna keep I'm gonna keep both of them covered for a couple of hours. So you basically are gonna leave this on your counter for a couple of hours. Now something super important that my sister-in-law taught me, and you'll hear many people say this is, I use this whisk and you'll see that there's like little particles left over on it. It's really important that these don't go down your drain. If you let this go down your drain, you are going to it's going to harden up like concrete and you're going to have a huge plumbing issue. So I actually will just leave this sitting in water in my sink until I use it next. So I just kind of fill it up with water and let it sit there. All right, it's been a few hours. This has basically doubled in size. So now I'm actually going to throw the entire thing into a bigger bowl with a cup and a half of water, a tablespoon of salt, and 3 cups of flour. So I'm just gonna give this all a mix together. I will show you what it looks like at the end. So I've mixed it a little and I just kind of use a motion where I'm scooping under it, lifting it up, and then pushing it back down, under, up and back down, and I'm just trying to get it into a rough dough ball. Next I'm going to take my rough dough ball here and I'm going to put it into a much smaller bowl. I believe that the smaller bowl kind of just helps the motion of the dough to go up and not out. So you'll see if I left it in this bowl, it would grow and would fill to the sides first and then it would go up. But here it's already going to be touching the sides a little bit, so it's just going to go up. You may notice it looks a little glossy in here. I did spray some oil in here. You can use just olive oil, but something just to kind of keep the dough off the sides. Now this dough is going to rest covered with a towel over it for about 30 minutes. And then we will start a process of stretching and folding it. Sourdough dishes. Oh my gosh. So, as I told you earlier, sourdough, it gets super hard. If you touch this stuff and get on your hands, it's going to stick all over your fingers. It's going to stick all over this thing as well. So I'm going to take the starter dish. I'm going to put it inside this bigger bowl and put the spatula inside there. And you might remember this guy from earlier. I'm going to just put them all in here. And actually, I'm going to let this sit and soak. So this is basically, I'm going to fill this up. I'm going to let it soak. And sometimes I even let it soak overnight. I basically want to just make sure everything that has dough on it is covered with water. So it just helps to loosen it up a little bit. And then tomorrow morning, I'll take this out in my backyard and I probably won't take out everything, but I'll basically kind of like remove everything I can in the water. So I'll have this really dirty dough water. So these things will all be clean. Right, almost clean, but you'll basically clean these off the best you can. Once they're pretty clean, then you can just lay them aside to dry. But then all the other vessels, you want to just make sure all this water, like throw it in your grass, throw it somewhere where it doesn't really matter, and that way this stuff is not going down your pipes, and I don't want your dad to get mad at you. So what do you do with starter number 2? If you're not planning to use it, just throw this in your fridge. It can sit in your fridge for weeks and weeks and weeks until you use it again. But I think pretty generally, most people will say at least once a month you should use it. But yeah, you just I'm just gonna cover this up, throw it in the fridge. It's gonna sit in the back of my fridge for probably a week until I use it again. So I waited about 30 minutes, and I'm gonna do a series of stretches and folds. So I'm gonna take the dough out, kind of stretch it out, and fold it in half. Kind of take a 90-degree angle, lift it up, stretch it out, and fold it in half. And then you're gonna let it sit again. You can see already the dough is already starting to kind of come together from that. And just I wet my hands a little. You'll see there's going to be a little stuff on your hands when you're done. Just you can go ahead and you can just wipe this off with like a paper towel. The stretching and folding should take place 3 times. You can wait 15 to 30-minute increments. Normally I don't have that much time, so I just wait like 15-20 minutes and do it again, and I do it 3 times before I make a dough ball. So I've stretched and folded the dough, and you can see it's getting smoother and smoother. So I'm gonna create a dough ball. So I basically took some flour, put it on the surface here. I have something that I like to roll on. You can see it almost looks like it's a ball now, right? I'm just gonna play with it until it kind of until it looks more like a circle. And then I'm actually going to dust the bowl again. And then I'm just gonna drop it back in that bowl, and then I'm gonna let it rest. And this is called proofing your dough. So you're supposed to proof your dough, which basically just means like leave it in there, let it grow, let it get bigger until it starts to have bubbles on the surface. You can actually see it's already started to bubble, but normally in like 2 to 3 hours you'll start to see those bubbles like all over the surface of the dough. I just dropped it back inside the same thing. You can see I kind of just dusted the outside with a little bit of flour, and I'm going to cover it up and leave it on the counter. So you'll see little things like this. On the surface there's going to be like little bumps like that. It's been sitting for quite a few hours, maybe 4 hours or so. And I'm going to flip this over onto the surface. You can see it comes out pretty well. There's a couple pieces that will stick. This is the last part that we're gonna do before we actually put this in the fridge. So you're gonna kind of stretch it out a little bit, and then you're gonna fold everything onto itself like that, and then you're gonna kind of just like roll it. This helps the bread to kind of like spring. I'm just gonna kind of like this. You can see like little bubbles all over the place. On the outsides, if you want, you can just kind of like pop at these. You have a toothpick or something, and I normally just kind of pinch them out. But this is kind of like the final like getting stuff together. And then I'm gonna put it into a pot. Let me show you this. This is kind of weird. I have a really tight pot. Here, let me show you. Right here. So this is actually a pot that I use for like boiling water. But I have this interesting little thing. It's maybe you are going to need to use parchment paper. So if you have parchment paper, you can lay parchment paper down inside of something. You probably want whatever you put it in the fridge, you want it to have a similar shape to however you're going to make it. So you can make it, I mean, most people make it in a kind of a circle, but you can make it in a long, kind of like oval, or I don't know. It really depends on how you're going to cook it. When you cook it, you can cook it on a cooking sheet. So you don't need anything special, but I use a Dutch oven and I'll show you that. So I just want to show you, I just basically dropped it in there and I'm going to cover this and then I'm going to put it in the fridge for another few hours. You can leave it in the fridge up to a day or a day and a half even, but it should be in the fridge for probably at least 3 hours if you can. So I preheated a Dutch oven to 450 degrees. I'm gonna take it out here. So I'm about to cook some other stuff here. You don't need to have a Dutch oven like this, but it does help if you're cooking. You probably just have like something flat like this, or you can just put it on a flat pan with parchment paper. All I'm gonna do is I'm gonna plop the bread right on here. This obviously is 450 degrees, so that's why I'm wearing an oven mitt right now. But so you can see that I was able to just take it out of this pan and basically just lift it up because of these flaps. Again, if you just have it on parchment paper, or you can even leave it in the fridge in the container that you are planning to make it in. I'll show you another container in a second here, but the only thing I'm gonna do, you'll see people will like score their bread. So scoring basically just means like cutting the top. You want to make a cut that's like 1/4 of an inch. This is the wrong type of knife. I don't have a scoring knife yet. I'm not that cool, but we're getting there. But again, don't let that prevent you from trying this or making it like I still make bread. I don't have all the stuff these guys have in videos and whatnot. So anyway, you kind of see there's just a little cut there across, and this will just help the bread to kind of expand out of that hole a little bit. So I also have some bread pans like this. If I were to bake the bread in there, I would put parchment paper. You can see parchment paper in here. I just kind of cut it because parchment paper will kind of like flow over the sides. I'll just cut it to shape it to the pan. You can see there's a little bit of grease on there, so I'll just put butter or olive oil. This one obviously there's no parchment paper in there, but I'm just showing you like different types of pans that you could possibly do it in. But in all honesty, if all you have is a cookie sheet, you can just put parchment paper flat on a cookie sheet and you can cook it straight on a cookie sheet. The only thing I think that may happen is it may expand a little bit more and not go up as much. Sometimes being contained in a smaller place it just kind of makes the bread want to go up rather than to the sides. And one last thing, when you use something like this is like if I put the whole amount of dough that I made into here, oh my goodness, it would be it would be way too much. So you would probably have to cut your dough in half, but then you get 2 different loaves. All right, so I'm getting close to the end of my timer. I put it in for 30 minutes on 450 degrees. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drop the temperature down to 400. And once I drop it down to 400, and the timer's gonna go off here in a second. I mean, there's 1 minute left. It's not a big deal. I'm gonna take the top off my Dutch oven. Now, if you don't have a Dutch oven, so you can kind of see what happened with the score there. You can see it's browning on the bottom. I'm gonna leave it in for like another 15 minutes or so on 400. Now, if you're cooking just directly on parchment paper or a pan, you can just what do we call it? You can just you can just kind of check to see the color of the bread. So once it gets that dark brown color, then you should be good to go. All right, so I took it out of the oven. I left it in for another 15 minutes on 400 degrees. And it may take a little bit longer. It really depends on your oven. I have a gas oven, so I feel like it runs like really hot. Some recipes will tell you 50 minutes on 450 and then 10 minutes on 400, but I will take it off of here. Again, these little flaps are going to help me. I'm going to lift it off of here and just let it rest on a wire rack like this for about an hour. Trust me, it's so hard to let it rest for an hour. You want to eat it right away, but you can cut off bigger hunks of it if you like. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you just experiment and try, and you'll figure it out, and then you'll start watching videos yourself, and you'll be better than me very soon. So hope this helps.